Hello, everybody. This is Ming Chen,
Hi, I'm Mike Zapsik from AMC's Comic Book Man.
and you are watching AFK, the AFK show, our favorite show on the planet.
One of.
One of. So you're watching the right show. Keep watching, and keep watching.
And keep watching. And keep watching. Don't stop.
You've seen him on Star Trek. You've heard him on the Howard Stern Show, the official voice. The one, the only, the legend, George Takei.
Ababui to you too. Good morning, and thank you very much for that welcome. It's good to be here in San Antonio with the... Coming here was something else. Let me tell you about the plane trip coming here. We left Los Angeles in beautiful golden sunshine. We started flying, and I was reading the newspaper, and I looked at the weather report, and it said thunderstorms in San Antonio. And I told Brad sitting next to me, we can expect thunderstorms on our landing. And he said, "Moo." I have a touch of cold, and when you're flying, it's not a good idea to combine a cold with that. But they tell me that the best antidote is to keep sipping hot tea. It's good for jet lag, and it's good for washing out the cold germs. And so I kept sipping throughout the flight. And I thought, well, it's only a 2.5-hour flight. You know, we were in the front row, and this plane, a small plane, has the restroom at the very tail end of the plane. And I didn't want to go, winding down the corridor to go to the bathroom. So I said, I'll hold it until we land. I kept sipping. I have a cold. I don't like jet lag. I kept sipping. And, oh, that's better? We're wireless now. Do you hear me better? No? Shall I get back on the wire? Am I fine here? Oh, good. So I kept sipping. And then we were getting ready to land. And I thought, well, yes, I'm getting quite well hydrated. Thank God we're landing. I'll go when we land. And I looked out, and sure enough, all clouds. And then the captain announced that there is a thunderstorm going on in San Antonio. I gave Brad my elbow there, and he said, yeah, you're right. And then he said, because of the thunderstorm, we're not going to be able to land there in San Antonio. And so we're going to land in Austin instead. But we only have about 10 minutes worth of fuel left. So we're going to go there real quick. However, he said, because of the fact that we're not going to be landing in San Antonio, we're going to keep the seat belts off, so those who need to go to the restroom, you can go now before we land in Austin. And so I thought, well, I'm not going to last until Austin. I better go. And I got up and started going down that long, narrow corridor. And then it started to get bumpy. And I thought, I really got to hold it this time. And I wended my way down, and a few people sitting there recognized me, and they smiled and nodded, and I said, I got to the restroom, and it says, ocupado. Yo hablo español. Lo entiendo. I stood there, it wasn't because of the urgency, it was because of the bumpy plane, but I was there like this, waiting for the ocupado to disappear. And the lady who was seated there said, that woman's been in there for 5 minutes. And I thought, well, if that's so, I better not keep standing here. I think I can hold it. And I went wending all the way back. And then the captain announced, we are in luck. We found an opening. We're going to land in San Antonio. However, we're going to have to circle a little bit. We have 9 minutes of fuel left. And so those of you that would need to go, so I thought, well, I asked the flight attendant, can something up front tell me whether the restroom is occupied or not? And she said, oh, it's open now. And so I went wending my way down the aisle again and got there. And thank God, I got in the restroom, closed the door, and I was getting relief. When all of a sudden, I felt like I was riding on a rodeo bronc. Have you seen a Pollock painting? I was so embarrassed. Thank God the door was locked. But then he said, passengers all please get back into your seats and buckle up because we're landing. So I was about 3/4 through. So I quit and I hurried back to my seat and buckled in. And I told the flight attendant, will you relay my message to the cleaner when we land? I apologize. I can't tell you how grateful I am to be here in San Antonio. I love my tea. So it really is good to be here on a Sunday morning with you. The early birds at 12:10. Thank you for joining me. I see a sea of empty seats over there, and we actors don't like that. But I can tell you that I am headed for a theater where we're not going to have any empty seats. Yes, Allegiance, you know about that. We still don't know which theater yet. Well, we were a great big hit in San Diego when we opened. This is a musical we developed over a 3-year period. As a matter of fact, we recorded the process of the development of the musical Allegiance. It's based on my childhood imprisonment in U.S. internment camps. It's one of the shameful chapters of American history when innocent American citizens who happened to be of Japanese ancestry were summarily rounded up and put in barbed wire prison camps simply because we happened to look like the people that bombed Pearl Harbor. 120,000 Japanese Americans. It's an important story of American history where our Constitution was egregiously violated. But so many Americans don't know about this. And so we developed this musical. We opened in San Diego at the distinguished Old Globe Theater. And because my social media campaign had developed an audience for Allegiance, we were from the very beginning sold out. In fact, the entire run turned out to be a sold-out run. Thank you very much. And how many of you have seen Allegiance yet? No one in Texas, because it was in San Diego. Who? You have seen it. Well, bless your heart. Thank you. Spread the word to all these Texans here. Or there are non-Texans here as well. How many are non-Texans? Well, welcome to Texas and San Antonio, where one can pee with comfort. Well, it opened in San Diego to a sold-out run, and the Old Globe Theater did something that they hardly ever do because they are a repertory house. They extended our run another week, and because of that, we wound up breaking their 77-year record for both box office and attendance. And we topped it off by winning the Best Musical of the Year award from the San Diego Critics Circle. And so I thought transferring to Broadway was going to be a piece of cake. Not so. Every theater on Broadway has been booked up. And, time remaining. 32 minutes. Oh, good. Has been booked up. So we had to get in line with other productions, waiting for a theater to open up. We've been waiting for a year and a half, and I think we are going to be able to get into a theater before the winter is out. And so we'll be opening in the spring. It is a very frustrating thing to wait for a theater to be open for us. And in our frustration, our producer came up with a great idea. As a matter of fact, our producer is a graduate of the University of Texas in Austin, Lorenzo Tione, a Texan. He came up with a great idea. We don't have a theater yet, so we can't start selling tickets. However, what he's come up with is the idea of a priority access pass, which means that before the tickets go on sale to the public, those people who buy this priority access pass have free access to a pair of seats for any performance, any time, matinee or evening, any day. You have first dibs on the seats that you want. You pay $5 for this access. And in addition to that, you get a free download of the cast album. And the music is glorious. And some are hilarious. And we've already sold about 13,000 of those priority access pass. That means 26,000 seats already sold. And so the mass of you Texans here and the people who came from other places, you have access to seats before anybody else gets to buy seats. So go to allegiancemusical.com and get your priority access and start saving for your trip to New York City and a spring vacation in New York, topped off with Allegiance. So that's the commercial part. Now, let's open it up to a conversation with all of you. Any thoughts you may have, any complaints you may have, any questions you may have. Have they set up a mic someplace? Oh, there it is. There's a mic. And is there another one on this side? There are three. Great. Well, let's start from Are you standing at a mic? Okay, let's start with you.
Well, George, I just wanted to say that you're an awesome ambassador for the gay community, the Japanese community, and all of us Howard Stern fans who absolutely worship you. And I just had two things. I was a Division I wrestler in college, and it's Sunday. I'm just saying, oh my. And also, if you could tell us.
Oh, yes, we did.
And also, if you could tell us, any of your Bill stories, Georgie and all that stuff. It's just so funny to the Stern fans. We love you. So any Bill story you want to share, I'm sure everybody would love it.
Well, those of you who want to visually experience our dear uncle, Bill, we have a documentary out now called To Be Takei.
It was awesome.
Oh, you've seen it already?
Already seen it.
And the unique thing about this documentary is all of the surviving cast from the original Star Trek is there with us. One of the great gifts from Star Trek has been the fact that my work colleagues have become very good personal friends. Nichelle and Walter were here yesterday. Walter happened to be the best man at our wedding when I got married to Brad. Thank you. We just celebrated our 6th anniversary of legality. We're legal. But we'd been living in sin for 21 years before we made it legal. 27 years together. But our work colleagues have become our personal friends as well. Walter was our best man, and we asked Nichelle to be our our matron of honor. And Nichelle said, "I am not a matron. If Walter can be the best man, why can't I be the best lady?" We said, "You're absolutely right." And she was our best lady. And we sent, because we have our Star Trek friends on our wedding party, we sent invitations to every cast member on Star. We wanted to be inclusive. And the only one that did not RSVP was you-know-who. But we thought that's typical of Bill. He never RSVP for anything that we do. Parties or a celebration of someone getting a star on the Walk of Fame. So we said, that's all right. Bill's not coming. Well, and we got married. We had a wonderful wedding ceremony and a party at the Japanese American National Museum, which we founded. And we were 2 months married when there on the YouTube was Bill Shatner ranting and raving that he never got an invitation to our wedding. 2 months after. We were absolutely baffled. If he wanted to come, then he could have phoned us before the wedding. We never got a phone call. And we were just confused by that. But then Brad and I were driving down Sunset Boulevard, and there was a great big billboard there advertising William Shatner's new talk show, Rawners. I said to Brad, that's why he made a big fuss about not getting an invitation to our wedding. You can put out a press release saying I've got a new talk show, but that's pretty perfunctory. That's de rigueur. If you have a controversy, then you get some attention. That's why he made that fuss. And we pointed out, when the press came to ask us about the not getting the invitation, we said we did 3 seasons on TV together. We did 6 movies together. We do conventions still today together. Bill knows me, but Bill feels that he can psychoanalyze me and he did that on YouTube too, and complain about not getting an invitation and still claim that he doesn't know me. Those of you that have seen the documentary, you know how he behaved on that. Everybody was there with wonderful comments, and all he says is, "I don't know George." Nichelle had a wonderful reaction to that. So, you know, what I feel about my Star Trek colleagues is we are a family, and we get together periodically like this. But whenever you have a family get-together, like many families, you have that weird, eccentric uncle show up. And we have our Uncle Bill.
So last year, you were on a show called Fangasm. Well, you got on for an episode of it.
A show what?
Called Fangasm, where you came into a house and you met 7 members that were auditioning for a chance to meet, to work for Stan Lee. You met one guy named Andrew who came up to you and just kind of like started rubbing your face. What was your reaction to that? Like, how did you feel when that happened?
It was, in some ways, a familiar feeling. Because the first person who did something like that was, I was in the makeup table one morning when we were filming Star Trek V. What was that called? I've forgotten the title. I think maybe it's because it was being directed by a certain director. I was in the makeup chair, and Bill came up to me smiling. Very rare. Smiling. And I came up from behind, and I felt this hand on my cheek. And then he came forward, and he said, "Georgie." No one calls me Georgie. My mother never called me Georgie. "Georgie, we have this beautiful scene for you." I said, "Yeah, I studied my script. I know. It's all right." He says, "Well, this is what I want you to do." And he kept rubbing my face. It reminded me of that.
Thank you.
Again, thanks again for coming to San Antonio. We all appreciate it. This is not a question, but I just want to compliment, of all the stars and people I have connected through Facebook, I think your Facebook page is the funniest, wittiest, most amazing one of all.
Thank you.
Every day, 3 or 4 posts that are just drop dead hilarious.
Thank God you're alive. Don't do that too often. You might get pretty sick. Back over this way.
To piggyback on his question about social media, what prompted you to take such an active role in Facebook with both the humor and the activism that you dispense?
Well, as I said, we were developing this musical on the internment of Japanese Americans. It's surprising to me that there are so many people that still don't know about the internment. I mean, people that seem otherwise well-informed, educated people. When I tell them that I grew up behind barbed wire fences, U.S. barbed wire fences, they are aghast. "You mean it was in the United States?" And I said, "Well, I was imprisoned in one a camp in the swamps of Arkansas, and another one on the northern border of California with Oregon." And they are absolutely astounded that something like that happened. And here we were, putting our passion, our energy, our talent, and our money into a project that very few Americans know anything about. And we want it to be a commercial success. So I had a challenge. One, I had to raise the awareness of Americans on the internment. And number two, once they're aware of that, are informed on the internment, to let them know that we've developed a musical on it. And then, number three, to develop them into potential enthusiastic, anxious ticket buyers. And I thought the best way to do that is social media. But my fan base at that time was a small base made up essentially of sci-fi geeks and nerds. You guys. But I had to grow that. And so by trial and error, and I tried a lot of things, but I found that the memes that got the most likes and shares were either the cat memes or the funny memes. And cat memes are also funny. So it's the funnies that got the most likes and shares. So I started doing a lot of that to grow the audience. And once the audience grew a little larger, then I started injecting some observations I have on social justice issues. And I talked about LGBT equality, and then I talked about campaign finance reform, and then I introduced the subject of the internment of Japanese Americans. And once the people were informed, then we started sharing a little bit of the musical, and then a little bit of the songs from the musical. So the reason I started in social media to the extent that I did was essentially to build an audience for Allegiance. And it worked. We had a sold-out run in San Diego, and we already have 26,000 seats in a house that we don't know where it is in New York City, but definitely on Broadway. So it was Allegiance that got me involved on social media.
I just wanted to say it's a huge honor to ask you a question today, but I'm sure we all want to know. You've done countless appearances on different movies and TV shows besides Star Trek. What was your favorite? Which one did you enjoy the most?
I gotta say, the one that I enjoyed the most was in 1974. It was a play I did in New York called Year of the Dragon. It has nothing to do with that Cimino movie, Year of the Dragon, at all. It was written by a Chinese-American playwright about a Chinese-American family in Chinatown, San Francisco. And it's about the son's conflict with his father and his frustration trying to get out of the ghetto of Chinatown. I was able for the first time to use my own experience as an Asian American into a role that I was creating. And after the New York run, we had that film for television in the PBS Theater in America series. So some of you may have seen it. It's rarely re-aired, but you might be able to find it somewhere now because there's such a plethora of programs that are accessible. The title of that, that's drama, not a musical. The title of that drama is called Year of the Dragon, written by Frank Chin.
Thank you.
Hey, George. First off, I'd like to say it's I'm sure you've heard it many times before, but it's an honor to be speaking to you and to ask you a question. It truly means a lot to each one of us individuals to be able to say thank you for your help in the LGBT community, for spreading a lot of Asian community awareness and a lot of those things, so just thank you. My question is, what is your perspective on LGBT themes in sci-fi, and how has it changed like over time? How have you seen that kind of play out?
Well, the theme of LGBT was non-existent certainly when Star Trek came on back in '66. And as society changes, our culture starts reflecting that. Oh, we have what's called a high-tech hook. And now, I'm told that my time is up, right here. I'll just finish that. Okay. I lost the hook just got me in the throat. Oh, it just came on again. 13 minutes remaining. Are you sure? Technology, isn't that grand?
Oh, yes.
This is so much more polite than, what they used to do in the old vaudeville days when they literally had a hook. And when a comedian was on too long, it came out and yanked you off the stage. Oh, it's gone blank. Oh, 12 minutes now. Okay. Where was I?
Yeah, LGBT themes in sci-fi.
Oh, in sci-fi. Well, society is changing. First of all, we got rid of don't ask, don't tell. LGBT people can serve proudly in the military. There was a time when you can defend our country, fight heroically on a battlefield, but when they find out you're gay, you're fired in the most humiliating, degrading way. Every title taken from you, and you're left without a job that you enjoyed doing. It was ridiculous, outrageous, and a blot on American society. So we got rid of that. And now we have marriage equality in 19 states. Brad and I were able to get married in California, which is our home. And so many people now are enjoying the security of marriage equality. Particularly, for example, that Windsor case, where Edith Windsor lost her wife of they've been together almost 40 years. And they, over the 40 years, they built their estate together. And yet, when her wife died, she was treated like a total stranger and taxed $320,000 on what she inherited from her. If her wife had been a man, there would have been no tax. I mean, it was a gross, outrageous example of inequality. And so that changed. And so we have marriage equality in 19 states where people can be married and feel secure. But it's a patchwork throughout the country. When I pledge allegiance to the flag, I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, USA. And we are determined to make that pledge come true. And I predict that within 3 years, next year, the Supreme Court's going to hear all these cases again. And when that decision comes down, we will have equality throughout the states, United States of America, where we can get married and enjoy the security of that marriage, the bond of marriage, throughout the country. And so science fiction is starting to reflect this advance that has been made. And I'm proud of that. And do I really still have 9 minutes more? Because it keeps going off and coming back. Is technology still with us? Or has it gone crazy? Because technology can go crazy. Airplanes technology, and it can't land in a thunderstorm. And it makes me become great artist. Well, it still says 9 minutes, so what? Do you have a message for me? This is okay? Okay. You're on.
Good afternoon. Before I get to my question, I just want to let you know that I was educated in Oklahoma public schools, and I did learn about about Manzanar and
In Oklahoma?
In Oklahoma, yes.
Fantastic.
And
There was one closer to Oklahoma than Manzanar. Manzanar was in California.
Right.
We were incarcerated in Arkansas, right near Oklahoma. Did you hear about Rower, Arkansas?
Yes.
Oh, you did? Good.
But
well,
my
I'm
question-
impressed by how progressive Oklahoma's education system is.
I wouldn't go that far. But having a large population of Native Americans, there's a sensitivity to being trod upon by the system. But my question for you is, everybody in the room is very familiar with your work with Star Trek, but what I want to hear you talk about a little bit was your role in the Green Berets with John Wayne.
That was, to me, a fantastic experience, to work with an American icon, a legend. It was after the first season of Star Trek, and we had a hiatus. And my agent called and said, George, I've got something to fill your hiatus time. And I said, oh, okay, I'm game. And he said, how would you like working with John Wayne? I almost dropped the phone. I'd grown up watching John Wayne, Fort Apache and all the great John Wayne movies. And he said, you're going to have an interview with him, John Wayne himself. I thought, good Lord, John Wayne, not a casting director. And it's going to be at Warner Brothers Studios, where I was interviewed for my very first feature film, Ice Palace, that starred Richard Burton and Robert Ryan. And so I drove out to Warner Brothers Studios, and I walked into this big office. Only John Wayne was there. And when I walked in, he squinted at me just like he did in Fort Apache, like he did at Ward Bond. I felt like Ward Bond. There he was squinting at me. This was the Green Berets, and I had a personal dilemma because I was active in the peace movement during the Vietnam War. And at the same time, I wanted to work with John Wayne. I wanted to do the Green Berets. And I felt that I needed to be candid with him. I said, Mr. Wayne, I got to be honest with you. I am on the opposite side of politics with you. I am active in the peace movement, and I know you are a strong supporter of the war. And he squinted at me again. I thought, well, this is it. He's going to say thank you, but no thank you. But he said, George, I like your honesty. And I'll tell you what, I believe in free speech. That's what democracy is all about. It's free speech that makes democracy what it should be. And that's what we're fighting for. And I appreciate your being honest with me, and I will be honest with you. I want to make this film the best movie I can make. And I want the best actors to play these roles. And I'm looking for that best actor. And honesty is something that comes through in a good actor's performance. But thank you very much. And the meeting ended. And I thought, I phoned back my agent back, and I said, well, I was forthright with him, and I told him I'm with the peace movement, and my agent said, George, I love you, but you're honest to a fault. You're not going to get that part then. But a week later, he called and said, guess what? Believe it or not, he liked you, your cast. I was over the moon. And working with John Wayne, I don't consider John Wayne an actor. He is a fascinating personality. He's the same John Wayne that you see on screen, off screen. He's a decent, fair-minded, strong-opinion guy who believes in free speech and what we're fighting for with the military. And he's played many military men. And I respect that. And I respect the fact that he is such an interesting personality. You know, that walk of his could be considered almost feminine, you know. And he's made that his iconic masculine walk, you know. He's an amazing guy, and he's an amazing film talent.
Okay, so my question
And
is...
we got 3 minutes, dear.
I'll make it fast. You've overcome so much in your life. I mean, you talked about the internment camps, and obviously you were one of the first Asian Americans, probably the first Asian American on a popular television show. And then being gay in America at a time when it wasn't okay, and, you know, supporting the peace movement and everything that you've done. What is the biggest hurdle for you that you feel that you've overcome?
Well, I do think it was the fact of the imprisonment, because they took everything from our family. My father used to say they took my business, they took our home, they took our freedom, but the one thing I'm not going to give them is my dignity. I will not grovel before this government. And that pride in himself that my father exemplified, I think I've inherited. And that pride, but you know, he was also an American, and he taught me. At that time, I was too young to really understand what was happening. But when I was a teenager, I was inspired by the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, and I was active in the civil rights movement. And I couldn't reconcile the idealism of America with what I knew to be my childhood imprisonment. And I couldn't find anything about it in our history books or in our civics books. So I had many long discussions with my father after dinner. And they became very heated at times. But the core message that I got from my father was that our democracy is a people's democracy. And it can be as great as a people can be, but it's also as fallible as people are. The people made a mistake then. Our democracy is very vulnerable. And he said our democracy is dependent, vitally dependent, on good people who cherish the ideals of this system. All men are created equal, endowed with an inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And particularly one man, one vote, which is still being challenged today. But after those discussions, he took me downtown to the Adlai Stevenson for President headquarters, and he introduced me to how democracy works. And there we were amongst passionate people who believed in Governor Stevenson, his ideals, and they were shining ideals. And I got involved with that, and I was really made aware of what it meant to be an American citizen in our American democracy. And I've been active in the political arena and in the social justice arena ever since that time. And now it's blank, it's not talking to me at all. Oh, thank you, time's up. Thank you all. Our time is up, but not. Live long and prosper. Thank you all very much.